Drew Titan Bronx on deck. Shout out to the mighty LDBC. I'm doing this video because it simply needs to be done. To my brothers, BFTB and Tay Jones. Let me first say this, that I love both my brothers. And things got out of hand. They got a lot nervous. And contrary to what some people are led to believe, things are resolved. How about that? And it got ugly. Some of you took sides. Some of you just marched to a particular drum that I can't even explain. I like to just look at the landscape of things and assess things on my own and try and make sense of things. The thing with me in reference to that situation was I knew exactly what was happening. But what most of you don't understand is that a lot of times, and some of you have families, some of you do not, but if you have a large family like I do, you understand that sometimes family fights and sometimes it can get ugly. And when you fight with family, it's unlike anything that you've ever dealt with. Family could hurt you. Family knows things about you that the average person doesn't know, especially family that's known you all your life. It could be someone that you've met off the fly and developed such a bond with, and you've opened it up to them in certain cases, and you let them know something about yourself that they know, and then y'all get into a conflict. Things can be said in retaliation because you want that person to hurt. You want that person to feel how you feel. That's where you have to get control of yourself. I am not perfect. I've been there a few times in my life. There's a saying, hurt people hurt people. Sometimes you want that person to feel how you feel in that moment. And things can get very testy. And if you do not excel in conflict resolution, you can fall victim of your own mouth. You can fall victim of your own emotions. And it could legitimately be over nothing. It could be something that was misconstrued. It could be a miscommunication. I'm a firm believer that a lot of things in life are solvable by way of conversation. And sometimes you have to let things ride. Time heals wounds. And sometimes a conflict could get to a point where you're just so focused on hurting a person rather than finding out why that person's hurt in the first place. It's important that you surround yourself with the right amount of individuals that are on your same wavelength and they understand what you're going through as a person. Even if they don't know why you're hurting or at war with yourself or with another party, they have to understand that when a person is in an emotional state, you might not be thinking straight. Now, I'm not saying that that's exactly what happened here, because I was directly involved. But if you notice what I didn't do, I didn't take sides. Sometimes the brothers just got to let it air out. And when the dust settled, a conversation was had today. And what did we find out? There was an itsy bitsy piece of information that was misconstrued, and it was spun out of control. And we all laughed about it over the phone today. Can you believe it? I mean, what did I tell you happens when grown people get together and put down the virtual guns and say, look, what happened? And you find out it's over nothing. Story time. Heard a story long time, well, I'll say the 90s, a long time. Some of y'all wasn't born back then. But I was in a course, I was taking a course, and the topic was perception. Now, before I go any further, y'all know I'm not no therapist or nothing like that. I'm just giving you life experience and how I've learned to deal with people. So I was in this course, and the topic of perception came up. And gentleman that was teaching the course said, I got a story for y'all. Yeah, now listen to this. He had a problem with his older brother. And this gentleman was significantly older than me. And he said he had a problem with his older brother and his dad. He said a situation happened when he was younger. And he took it to heart. And he loves his family, but there was something that happened when he was a child that really aggravated him, and he held it to his heart. And he was kind of grumpy towards them for a couple of decades. So one day he was at his dad's house, and he asked, he was talking with his dad, and his dad said, I noticed you're kind of standoffish in your later years, man. Is there something wrong with you? What's going on? And he said, well, Dad, listen to this, man. Now, listen to this. This is what this fella told us. He said, you always, and I forget his brother's name, but he said, you always, let's just call him Charlie for the sake of the story. He said, you always treated Charlie a little better than me. Now, sometimes if you have siblings, you may feel that growing up. So his father says, well, do tell, why do you say that? He said, well, there was one time, you remember you used to take us out when the weather was good on the rowboat and we go fishing? I said, yeah, I remember that very well. We did that a lot. He said, well, there was one time where we was on a boat and I'm fishing, and I saw you hand Charlie a little bar of silver. Now, I don't know how much that thing was worth, but why did you give him a bar of silver and told him not to tell me? What was that bar of silver? Was it worth money? I mean, and then he starts going on about how now after he saw that bar of silver, now he's nitpicking. Oh, and then you bought him this shirt on Christmas, and I asked for this on Christmas. I didn't get that. I got something else, and you got. So now from that moment, and he was about maybe 13, 14 years old. From that moment, he was upset at his dad because he said his dad gave him a bar of silver. So he said his father's looking at him like he's crazy. He said, what are you talking about? What is this? The 1800s? I'm giving out gold and silver? He said, what are you talking about? He said, I saw you give Charlie a bar of silver. And then he thought. So he calls Charlie into the kitchen. He said, on the boat, did I ever hand you a bar of silver? And Charlie looked and said, no. He said, what are you talking about? So then he starts talking about the situation. And he says, wait a minute. Are you talking about the stick of Wrigley spearmint gum? He said, Dad gave me the piece of gum because you just had some tooth work done, and he didn't want me. He didn't want you to see him give me a piece of gum because he know you would want some, but you couldn't have it because you had something done. You had a bridge in your mouth or something. He had some dental work done, and he snuck me the piece of gum out the corner of his eye. He thought it was a piece of silver. Can you believe that shit? And he said he just stared at them, and they're looking at him like he's crazy. He said, "Is this what this 25-year attitude was? You thought he gave me a piece of silver? It was gum, you fucking idiot." Y'all know the Wrigley Spearmint gum? When you take it out the green pack, the pack is silver. The sun hits it, he thinks it's fucking silver. 13, 14-year-old boy. How big of a dick do you feel? And he shared that story with us, and I cracked up. Perception. Perception. You see why having a conversation is important? Now, he loved his family, but he always had that in the back of his mind. What he thought was a bar of silver was a piece of gum. Think about that for a moment. The thing that you're mad at might not be what it is. It might not. It might, and it might not be. But the important thing is to communicate and have that conversation. Now, to the troublemakers and the detractors, y'all know who you are, y'all know who you're not. Some of you were loving this. Some of you are going to be aggravated that the drama's dead. Because some of you are miserable. I'm not perfect, but I don't operate on the same wavelength as many of you do. Some of you exist what I call in a Jerry Springer mindset. I already told y'all, I don't do debates because I know where they go. And this is just my opinion, so I just avoid it. I got involved with the LDBC because the movement was important to me because I saw what was happening online. And I ain't going to go off on a tangent on that. But what we do here is important. The journalism that we do here is important. The integrity we maintain in the sport of boxing is important. We are supporters of the sport of boxing first. Fighters come and go. And when I saw my brothers at each other's throats, it hurt my heart, but I knew enough to play the background and let things air out. And I knew that when things was coming to a boiling point, they'd reach out and say, look, something has to be done. And that's what was done. And I'm proud to say that we all had a great laugh over the phone. Because what we thought it was, it completely wasn't. I told y'all the story about I was at the Oppressor. I forget which one. I think it was the Fatal Fury. And every time I go there, who do I see? I see Punch Drunk Boxing. Now, y'all all know things were kind of rough. And for the life of me, I was like, wow, I don't know what I did to this man. I don't know what happened. And God rest Batman. He's the one that brought him to my attention the first time. And I said, I don't know what he did, a video about me? He said, yeah, he said something about you. I said, I don't know him. He said, well, he lives up here near New York somewhere. I said, I don't know him. I never met him. And I ignored it. And you know how people are, they're troublemakers. They'll go from his chat and they'll come in my comment section and they're just inciting stuff. For the most part, I left it alone. And I remember the first time I saw him, it was standoffish. Second time I saw him, it was standoffish. Third time I saw him, it was standoffish. Now, he might not have been thinking about it, but it was bothering me because you know what? I said, I know I never did anything to this dude. What is the problem? So I said, the next time I see him, I got to talk to him and find out, because if I did something, maybe I do have to apologize. I don't know what I did. But I said, I'm going to feel better if I talk to him. Hell, I could go talk to him. I could say, hey, man, let's talk. He'd be like, fuck you. I don't want to talk to you. Then what am I going to do? I guess we ain't talking. But when I approached him, I said, Punch. I said, step over here. Let's talk. I said, bro, what happened? What did I do to you? Why do we have a problem? He said, man, we ain't got no problem. And I'm not going to say what was said, but I found out a lot of things, and he found out a lot of things. And what we know was that what I was telling him and what he was telling me, it was lining up. And not to get too deep into the story, we found out that there was somebody else pulling the damn strings. It's amazing what happens when you take a deep breath. And sometimes, and let me talk to the men, we got big egos and we can go 0 to 100, especially when we have certain things in our personal life that has affected us. Do the best you can to get in control of that. Be the bigger person and try and find out what happened, because you never know. You may have done something wrong and not realize it. But in our case, we found out. We was like, wait a minute, no, it wasn't that, it was this. And then he said, no, it was. And then we said, whoa, no, wait a minute. And then we figured out it was an outside entity pulling strings. He was being led by lies, as was I. And we dapped it up and we laughed about it. Punch drunk boxing. Salute to him. And just like that, it's over. There is no problem. You see how that works? It's amazing. This is called social media. And I say this all the time. I didn't get involved in any of this to create enemies. I've made contacts with people in boxing that I appreciate. People from other cities that I've never been to. And I appreciate every relationship that I have here. The fact that there are people that don't like me, that don't know me, is astonishing. But there's nothing I can do about that. And I say this proudly. If you can't do what I do, then you're not the kind of person I want to rub elbows with anyway. And I'm cool on that. But I'm proud of my brothers BFTB and Tay Jones. Because they handle things like men. They handle things like adults. Now, things got a little wild and out of control, but I knew it was going to get like that. But I bet y'all didn't know that I knew how this would end. With a dap and a few laughs over the phone. I knew that. And again, to you troublemakers that exist in chaos, shame on you. Go to church. Go to a mosque. Pray to who you worship. Because on a personal note, I don't like seeing black people fighting with each other. It's disgusting to me. And especially now, this ain't the time for that. It's really not. Y'all might not know, it pains me to do Monkey Tuesday. But it must be done because I have to point out the discrepancies in our community. Because that has to be done. Now, y'all can call it woke. I don't care what you call it. You brothers and sisters that act like you don't know what a code is, it's a damn shame, because every other ethnicity does. And if you don't know what I'm talking about when I talk like this, then whoever raised you failed you. Your grandparents, your parents, your uncles, your aunts, I don't care. It was a breath of fresh air today, and I feel great. I feel great. Well, my knee hurts, but I feel great. It was refreshing. The devil's always at work. But I make the devil work hard, don't I? Because I'm doing the Lord's work. So I know I was kind of all over the place with this video, but I felt it needs to be done. I told my brothers I was going to do this video. I'm just letting y'all know everything's fine. So the real ones are going to celebrate. The fake ones that exist in chaos. You see, this is the funny part with y'all. Some of you wait to pick a side because you ain't like the other person to begin with. You see what I mean? I ain't got to say no names. You know who you are. I see everything. And again, I'm not perfect. But you got to survey the landscape before you talk. Family first. If you don't understand that, I don't know what to tell you. Shout out to my family. Bomb Squad. LDBC fam. And we still up. Yeah, buddy.